Yeah, thanks, Paul. Thanks for everybody for being here today. One heck of a defensive battle. I thought both defensive teams played outstanding football today. We found a way to get one more stop, and that was key. And, just incredibly proud of our kids. They've persevered. They've been through a lot. To watch the way that our young men have battled over the last few years and to come out and find a way to get it done today was absolutely outstanding. So, my hat's off to Paul. I mean, that was a heck of a battle, and then their young guys go out and make some plays down there in the 2-minute drill, and got down to the one. Our backs were against the wall, and see the way our defense rose up and got the stop on 4th down. We needed to get it all the way to the last play, and that's what it took, and that's what they did. So, terrific effort by our defense. I thought our offense at times we were able to do some things, especially in the running game, and then some other times we were a block away from making big plays. And it's one of the top, if not the top, defenses in the conference and in the country. So, credit them for that. And then obviously the turnovers were huge in the game, and then not to be able to score as many points as you'd like off of turnovers. Again, you got to credit Wisconsin. They rose to the occasion and put the fire out. So, I'm still kind of speechless. I'm not sure what I just said. I don't know how that just unfolded, but it did. And I've been on the other side of those games, and I feel for those kids from Wisconsin just because it's a tough way to end up on the short end. But incredibly happy for our guys, and a lot to be thankful for here on Thanksgiving week. So with that, how about some questions, please?
Coach, what kind of emotional roller coaster was it this last few minutes when twice it looked like they had scored that back? What was that like?
Frankly, we were just talking about what we had to do on the next play. So if it was going to be the extra point block, game's tied. So what are we going to do? And we actually, unfortunately, had already talked about that prior to the 2-minute drill, about what we wanted to do in that scenario. So we talked about that twice, and I actually didn't have to do it, which was obviously the difference in the game. But, that last defensive play, that call was by our young men. They made the defensive call. We asked them what they wanted to run, and they made the call. So not that Hank was relinquishing. He just looked at them and said, "What do you guys like?" And they made the call. So good call by them, and a great game by Hank. I know this game is special to him, and to find a way to get the win was, and especially with the defense being on the field, was just spectacular.
If there was one guy in particular.
No.
Were you ever in a position of thinking, sort of conceding the score so you'd have some time to?
No. Yeah, Fred, not at all. No, the way our defense was playing all game, I'm the 2-minute drive, frankly, I'm really disappointed in. We study that, we teach it, and they executed. So tip your hat to Wisconsin. We sure as heck did not. And so we got to look at some of the things that we did in that drive, because frankly, defensively, until then, I thought we had a pretty good defensive day. Probably gave up the most yards of any drive of the day in that drive. So disappointing to see that, but our backs were against the wall and the kids rose up. But no, absolutely not.
Did you get any kind of look at those plays down on the goal line? You just sort of assume that the call is there until you hear the reversal from the radio?
Yeah, you do, and then you're talking about, okay, the scenarios, right? If it's upheld, here's what we're doing. If it gets overturned, what are we thinking, and where do we want to go? And you got the guys there, and so you're talking to them kind of what our thought process is in that scenario.
There was a lot of them there. I mean, I know you have had them go the other way, but
oh yeah,
a lot of them bumped there.
Yeah, but that's what they're there for. That's what they're there for. So,
what can you say about your line, the line playing both sides for that matter?
Yeah. I think from a standpoint of our defensive line, I thought we were pretty effective all day. And then, offensively, we were able to get some things moving. We just, again, that's a great Wisconsin defense, and they firmed things up there as we got into the red zone, and we just couldn't get the same plays executed and finished the way that we did earlier in drives. So, you got to give a lot of credit to them.
5-0 on the turnovers, if I remember right, and you were the wrong way 3-1. Was it last week?
Yeah, sure was. Yeah.
And 5-0, and it's that close. What do you sort of take away from a situation like that?
Well, 6 points off the board in the kicking game. and then one of the turnovers where we were kind of in no man's land. It was one of those where it's probably fourth and too long. If you're playing lights out on offense and their defense isn't very good, you probably go for that, right? And their defense is lights out. Our defense was playing outstanding. And I just felt like at that time, let's go pin them deep and see if we can flip the field position back again. And then obviously Hunter goes out and gets a perfect punt, and Matthew Harris downs it, inside the 5. So they made me look right in the decision. But you're just going with the flow of the game. You're talking through those scenarios. And if it was maybe shorter, maybe would have had a different thought process there. I'm talking about that fourth down play. So, that's what I'm talking about. You got to credit Wisconsin. They rose up. We talk to our guys all the time on sudden change, put the fire out. Bell rings as a defense. Go put it out. And they did a great job of that today. And I'm not surprised. That's an outstanding defensive football team.
You guys have a lot of goals left.
Yeah, we do. We talked about making November something to remember, and I don't think anybody in the purple and white will forget this game for a long time. So, the last 96, I was here as a player, and we had that crazy game when Ron fumbled the ball, and I hate to say that, Ron. I get a lot of respect for him, and I don't want to rip that Band-Aid off of him, but he's probably looking at his Heisman right now laughing at me. But at any rate, it's one of those situations where there's been crazy games up here in the past, and just so happy for our guys. They found a way to win.
Jack was having a tough day. Hesitating anyway to pass him out there for that last field goal.
No, absolutely not. No. He's our kicker, and you just got to look at some things. The short one, he didn't follow through. He kind of fell off the ball, which is very rare. I haven't seen him do that. And then the one that he missed to the north, I thought he really struck it well. It looked like he just faded on him there, right at the upright. So, no, I got great confidence in Jack, and that's why I put him back out there. The one that we punted on, that was probably 2 or 3 yards beyond where we talked about he felt like his range was going into the wind. And so that was the decision making in that. It had nothing to do with what he did earlier in the game.
Coach, it was the coldest game by far this season. Your snowballs flying out of the field. Do you think the weather, temperature did anything to how you guys had to adjust early on?
No, I thought it was awesome. Kudos to the facilities crew up here. The field was great. Surface was terrific. The footing was outstanding. And, it was it reminded me a lot of the game in South Bend last year. It was cold like this, snow the day before, kind of eerily similar. I don't know if we have Chick-fil-A or not, but it was very, very similar.
During the beginning of the fourth quarter, when the fans jump around, I think your sideline was they locked arms with each other and stood without moving. Was that something you guys planned to do? What was the meaning behind that?
No, I just thought about it right before we did it. I said, instead of jumping around, let's just lock arms and finish this thing together. So, earth-shattering. Master motor. Just trying to have some fun with the guys. And, I don't think we've been in that scenario in a long time in here, going to jump around in the game. And I wanted them to just focus on what we were doing, not what was going on around us. Just go focus what we're doing and go play our game. That was the thought process behind it.
What did you think of the pass rush?
Yeah, outstanding. Really, just outstanding. I thought that, and we were close on a couple other ones too. So those guys have been great all year. They've had a lot of guys banged up on their offensive line. One thing coming out of a bye week that's really hard to simulate is the speed of the game. It's really hard. And they had a late bye week. Bye week coming into our game, and I thought our defense, especially our D line, started fast. And then I thought their O line settled in. And then, you got to credit their O-line. We weren't close to Joel there in the 2-minute drive until the end, which, you got to credit their O-line.
Anything else, Coach? Right.
Great. Travel safe back home. Okay, thanks. Go Cats, and happy Thanksgiving.